here to do them. You're watching the USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. Come down by the bay, where after a 100-minute inclement weather delay, the Rowdies and Battery set the match up in a huge Eastern Conference Championship showdown. They've squeegeed all the standing water off, and it's all smiles now as the Rowdies and Battery prepare to do battle. Take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. Here's what it means. The Rowdies unbeaten through 11 games, 9 points clear the rest of the East. Charleston in a logjam, but a win today takes them into second place. And good evening, everyone. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts on hand. We've been waiting a long time to say welcome to the broadcast tonight. Now, Devin, we'll talk about the inclement weather, the impact that it's had on the field as we go through tonight. I think it'll be readily obvious, but let's talk about the matchup that we thought we were getting, because we certainly circled it a long time ago.
Most of the talk coming into the game, and to be fair about the championship this season, is about the Tampa Bay Rowdies due to their historical start. But to truly set the stage for this game, I actually think we need to start with the Charleston Battery and tip our cap to the turnaround that was not a great start to the year, that really struggled for goals. They've turned that around. But defensively, how they've shored up their back line, and it's about being tactically flexible. They've condensed the field on the opposite end. They're not playing high-pressing football. Instead, sitting a bit mid to low, understanding that they have the ability to eliminate high-quality threats and still pick and choose their moments going the other directions. 4 wins in their last 6 matches.
The Battery have been brilliant of late, but the Rowdies have been excellent all year. You're talking about a potential record-setting run. If they get to 16, which would be a result tonight and a positive result on the weekend against Hartford, they're in the rarefied air of the great Orlando City team in 2014 and San Antonio in 2017 for the longest unbeaten start to a season in all competitions in league history. And both Orlando and Rochester ended up winning trophies at the end of those respective seasons. Big reason for the Rowdies' success, Sebastian Cruz unheralded. Let's go ahead of the curve.
The identity for this Tampa Bay Rowdies team is about being flexible, and none more so than Sebastian Cruz. He's got an identity within this group that is based on a high soccer IQ. He plays a variety of positions at a very high and a very consistent level. Good vision on all areas of the field. So that enables him to pick out solid passes, break lines, but I love his work rate off the ball and how he helps this team. It's not all about the goals and assists. It's about his ability to identify threatening spaces and players and to be able to lock down those locations defensively. This team is top 5 on the attacking and defensive side of the ball, and a lot of that has to do with the work rate of Sebastian Cruz on and off the ball.
Enough for the $2 Mick Ultras. It's time to kick off here. The fans stuck it out. We're glad you have too. The Rowdies unbeaten through 11. The Battery, one of the best in the league year after year. Lock Horns next on CBS Sports Network. The USL on CBS Sports presented by Best Western, and some fans may have thought to go back to their hotel rooms. How could you play on a field that looked like this about 2 hours ago? It took a tremendous effort from the top of the organization. The president of the team was out rolling the field. They got all that standing water out, and now we're ready to play. The Rowdies taking on Charleston. Here's the Tampa Bay lineup.
Control is everything for Dom Casciato's 3-back system that can look at 5 at a time. Most importantly, getting the three in the midfield on the ball and getting their wing backs high. Their ability to enter into the box, get late lying runs, and then pick out MD Myers and Marco Micheletto is where they need to be at their best to get a result against this Charleston Battery team that once again is going to look different for Ben Pierman. They too will come with 3 center backs. I talk about the flexibility of the Rowdies. That's very important for the Charleston Battery tonight, to be able to defend off the ball for large stretches, then step in behind quickly. Jeremy Kelly, Malik Foster not only creating up high, but helping out Chris Allen and Ikaza underneath. That is how they find success.
Marco Micheletto stands over the ball. Elvis Osmanovic ensured that the field was prepared to play tonight. And a quick kickabout as we await the final go-ahead. Underway, 100 minutes delayed. We think it's worth the wait. Tampa Bay take on Charleston. It's the USL Championship on CBS Sports Network. The Rowdies unbeaten through 11 at home in St. Pete, taking on the Battery, one of the league's perennial favorites. With Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, there were a lot of Fig Newtons eaten during this extended layoff, Devin.
Speak for yourself. I'm more of a Nutter Butter guy, but certainly the nutrition was a key topic of conversation for you and I, as well as all 22 that are going to start this game.
The plan was 7 o'clock. That was pushed before the teams ever came out for warm-ups, not because lightning continued, but because the field got utterly inundated. The entire organization practically was out on the field with rollers, getting us prepared for this. So there's the nutrition aspect, but Elvis Osmanovic also pointed to a couple areas on the field, said we need to get more water off from here or there. So as the fans filed in, they got the final preparations done. And there are going to be a few spots on the field tonight, Devin. They're probably going to play a little bit water-soaked, and that's going to make it a little more difficult in the early going for everyone to get a feel for it.
Identifying the spots is one thing. Recognizing how consistent those spots are going to be is another. So with the ball on the deck, is it going to roll true? If you play up over the top, are those dead spots going to drop the ball, or does, over time, it eventually subside? You know, the idea for both of these teams to be able to counter quickly is one thing. To be able to actually do it with all the water that has hit this field of play is a very different conversation.
Here's Brian Schaefer. Born in Seattle, raised in Jacksonville, comes out to Akoff. Cruz, we highlighted at the outset, started every game this year, transferred in from AV Alta in League One. There's one of the spots.
Yeah, very good example early on, and watch 10 minutes from now, you play in the same spot and the ball rolls right through it.
Super unable to guard that to the line, ball lobbed across. Charleston whip it away. Tampa Bay has scored first in all 14 games that they've played this year between the Cup and the league.
And they've also yet to be shut out across all competitions. Great recovery there by Joey Aponono. And the reason why they are so consistent on the attacking side of the ball is because this is a 10-man game. Every single player wearing a Rowdies uniform has the ability to strike and at a moment's notice.
It's Ostrom who's down. One of the players who joined Dominic Casciato from Omaha. Casciato's first full year at the helm for the Rowdies. Took over midway through last year, what ended up being a lost season. Finished 10th, missed the playoffs. 9 wins last year, and Dom Casciato already has them on 8 so far this year in the league. Twice the League One Coach of the Year in the 3rd division in Omaha. And suddenly, inarguably, one of the best coaches in the American pro ecosystem at the moment. Service hung across, will run past Luis Zamudio.
One of the craziest stats about the Tampa Bay Rowdies that nobody is talking about. Yeah, the turnaround this year, 14 games unbeaten. If you really want to understand the body of work for Dom Casciato since he has come in, you go back to the tail end of last year. They only had 1 loss in their final 8. So over the last 22 matches, there's only 1 team in the entire pyramid of soccer that has been able to take down the Tampa Bay Rowdies. That's a quality and testament their consistency they've brought to the field of play, but also the way that they've changed the idea of how they want to attack. Yeah, they can hold the ball for 55, 60% possession, but they can also sit back, defend deep, and counter with just around 35 or 40. So the ability to manipulate the game based upon opponent, very impressive for the home team.
Akoff, this belongs to Charleston. These sides met a 1-1 draw April 18th in Charleston. This the scheduled conclusion of the season series insofar as it could still very much meet in the Prince Tires Cup knockout stage or the playoffs. Zamudio chips it on to Joey Apononu. Foot race chasing back, splash of water involved as well. Bypassing Kelly on the first touch, back from Micheletto.
Well, let's change gears now to the Charleston Battery and how they've started to ramp up their efforts. It's 4 wins in their last 6. Throw a draw in, and they've done well for themselves. Defensively, a very different team, one that has learned to mentally become more tough off the ball. Stereotypically want to have the brunt of possession. They want to play the game up high with their press, and as they commit numbers forward, goals have followed. Well, they followed aplenty over the last 6 games, but it's on the negative side of the ball where they've become much more efficient in their ways. The work rate off the ball, how they've been able to provide proper coverage, always +1, +2, numbers favoring them to eliminate the threats.
Akoff squared back to Wyke. Micheletto up across there, Zamudio.
And to my point, that area right there where even though there's a slight breakdown just atop the 18 for the Charleston Battery, it works to the wide areas. Sure, ball gets whipped into the box, but defensively they've recovered numbers behind the ball, and that's a very low percentage chance over this crazy stretch that has been nearly 2 goals a game on the attacking side. They've only given up 2 goals overall. And it's because their opponents are taking roads they want not to travel. Outside the box, low percentage chances, and become much more efficient moving in transition the opposite direction.
Cruz, Wyke, Schaefer. Dribble into that pressure and reverse to Dos Santos. Dos Santos last year with Charleston, played in 28 games, was there 2 seasons in total after a couple years in Pittsburgh. Launched by Jamali Waite. It's the right back, Akoff, who got in the middle of things. Wyke blasting this off Nathan Messer.
There's some confusion early on in the near touchline between Nate Messer and Jeremy Kelly. Also, most of the players donning a Rowdies jersey who wants to step into the corner and let this one fly. Just so many big bodies that are excellent when you go vertical, especially Brian Schaefer, great addition to this back line, who's been excellent in the air.
Max Schneider will do the honors, former Owl in Omaha. Plays it short, Cruz, that deflects, comes to the top of the 18, speared down, that's a foul. Over aggressive lean. There's Ben Pierman. What an incredible run he's led Charleston through over these last 4 years. They are competitive for every trophy they're capable of winning, and both he and Lee Cohen, who previously led the soccer operations in Tampa Bay, have built something really special. A difficult start to the season, especially in their transition defense. As you've mentioned, they have found an elixir to that.
You know, being adaptable with lack of depth, players unavailable due to injury, personal issues, and all of a sudden you're looking going, well, how do we sort of band-aid this thing together? Well, they've certainly done that impressively, and I loved the conversation we had with head coach Ben Pearman about, you know, changing tactically. A lot of people focus on numbers. It's important because of starting positions for players, but it's how you react after the fact that really identifies you as a group. And he said it's less about our structure overall and more about maintaining our identity. What our triggers are going to be defensively, our personality on and off the ball, and they've been able to maintain that even though the dynamic looks different. You know, building with 3 off the back line instead of 2, and maybe not necessarily having as many numbers up high, but still being methodical in their ways to be able to get them to the right spots. For a guy that coached over 100 league games in the championship prior to changing to a back 3, you have to tip the cap for their level of efficiency after the tactical change.
Seen that run of clean sheets over the last 6 games in all competitions. This ball sprayed through over the top. Zamudio comes sprinting off his line. Both the attacking player and the goalkeeper are down. Of note, no VAR in the championship, so Elvis Osmanovic calling for someone to come look at MD Myers, who is the former goal-scoring talisman for the Battery, switched sides to join the Rowdies this year.
The angle in the moment felt like both certainly had a bit of wind knocked out of them. It looks like it's fair. Love the ball through, the way it's angled behind Smith. 2 coming to it. It's a little bit late after the fact. Again, it's a split second coming to, really difficult to time it. Both players understanding of that exact moment and appreciative of the effort put forth. Nice to see Zamudio up and on his feet.
All the while, Myers was the one attended to, is going to have to be checked off the field for a short time. Devin, when you look at MD Myers, Charleston fans know, I think Rowdies fans have learned very quickly.
Yeah.
What do fans that maybe are unfamiliar with his game need to understand?
Every portion of his game is available if you're a coach, and you have to be wary of that if you're a defender on the opposite side. MD Myers has an engine that will go all game long. He's clean with the ball at his feet, probably an area that he's grown a lot in combination play inside the box and just outside the 18. But the biggest fear is about his timing. Getting him in those open spaces you just saw, recognizing the one-on-one moments where he has the ability to contort the shape of his run to benefit himself in front of goal. That's where he's made his bread and butter. Certainly what we saw for the Charleston Battery, and most recently what he's been able to do in a Rowdies jersey.
4 goals in 10 games in the league, had 30 and 60 for Charleston over the last 2 years. Doing that despite the fact that players like Cal Jennings and Rubio Rabin splitting up some of the goal-scoring acumen last year. Comes to Graham Smith. One of 2 defenders of the year on this back line. Suber now on it, won it with Pittsburgh last year. Smith won it in 2024. And Kaza commits the foul, hits Schneider. Throw for Messer. all-time most assists in the league, going after, Devin, the trophy that I'm sure you most covet for your cabinet, the Golden Playmaker.
Obviously.
I mean, if you had to choose one, probably be the championship trophy. But if you had to choose again, it would probably be the Shield. But if you had a third choice, it'd probably be the Golden Boot. And then it would be the Golden Playmaker. Launched over the top and met by Jamali Wade. Unfortunately, I left Golden Gloves out of the conversation because, well...
Still workshopping it.
Yeah. Back to Wade. He had hoped he wouldn't be here for this game. Such the nature for a player who's featured prominently for his country over the course of the last 4 years. Jamaica falling in the World Cup playoff, one of the last teams eliminated from contention for the World Cup. He's gotten a decent number of starts with the Reggae Boys due to Andre Blake's unfortunate injury history. But Wade remains in Tampa, and Jamaica failed to qualify for the tournament, which begins tomorrow. Shockingly.
Early on, quarter-hour mark. It's man for man right now for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Watch as the ball moves side to side on your screen. They're trying to create one-on-one scenarios, use the sideline to their advantage, push them up, back over. Don't allow any of the balls to come through the center portion of the field. Eliminate Ikaza and Allen. As you force them outside, then you force them to go more direct like this. Win the secondary ball. The Rowdies' work rate off the ball so important because they win so many duels. They pick up the second and then quickly go to work eliminating those one-on-one situations, and instead the numerical advantage starts to favor them because of the heavy workload.
Well, that ball came exploding away from the field. And the whistle and the gesture from the referee, merely a goal kick to be shown for it. Scooped up by Louis Perez, turns 29 years old tomorrow. And if this game had gotten delayed any further, he'd be celebrating in the locker room after the game. He may still, for that matter. Takeoff. Perez.
Brilliant ball.
And the numbers are good here for the Rowdies. Laced across toward Myers. Martinez launches away.
And he's got to be smart at the outside back position. Battery did everything they wanted to. Push the Rowdies up against the sideline, but the number one thing you cannot allow is the wingbacks to get high and behind you. Ben Pierman, head coach of the Battery, very clear that they needed to make sure to eliminate Ostrom and Akoff working down into the channels.
Icing through for Myers. There's Smith. Messer. Cheeky work broke down. Quick throw in from White. And the spin around by Myers. Thought he had support from Micheletto. Hey, tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern, head out to the Gridiron. Catch a Canadian Football League battle. The Hamilton Tiger Cats take on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Right here on CBS Sports Network.
Still an Argonauts guy myself.
How am I not surprised?
Yeah. Heart wants what it wants.
Front runner. Dos Santos. It's a foul for Malik Foster. Another clear one on Ostrom.
I like the work rate from Malik Foster. The problem is he's jumping some of these routes too early. It's allowing more possession to be had by the Rowdies, putting more pressure on his counterpart just underneath, Douglas Martinez for the Charleston Battery, and that's where we saw the last sequence up over the top this time. Charlie Ostrom, good job drawing the contact as they move side to side, the Rowdies.
Dos Santos. Wayward slide, Perez maintains. Parisian chips it forward. Run amok with the flag. This is the no quarter derby. Charleston has won each of the last 4 seasons. Supporters created it. It's a maritime theme. Pirates. Both located on the water. Goes to the old pirate saying, giving no quarter.
Parlay.
Whoa, I'm not touching that. I would never.
If memory serves me correct, I feel like you and I had a movie night here in the St. Pete area a couple of years back on the final that never was the night before.
Yeah.
Don't recall what movie exactly that was, but
Sleepless in Seattle.
More than likely.
Funny enough, that's not what I remember about that trip.
Well, certainly it's movie night's not something the Charleston Battery are looking to remember. Again, 4 wins in their last 6, starting to gain players back on the depth chart. Colton Swan back from national team duty. Langston Blackstock starting to get healthy. I love the addition of Chris Allen, 4, right in the middle of your screen, back into the midfield. With the defensive identity near firmly being implanted into this group. He's the type of guy that can give you another level up. Can cover at the outside back position. A lot of ground coverage himself centrally, and it allows that second and third midfield runner to pop up higher in front of him, an area that, in the absence of all the attacking pieces they've lost, Charleston Battery need all the help they can get with numbers up high. Chris Allen allows you to do that.
Here's Messer. Allen hits his 100th appearance tonight, by the way, for Charleston. His 2nd appearance of the regular season, out since June of last year. Makes his first start tonight. You can see number 4 calling for the ball in midfield in black. Run forward from Jeremy Kelly, got popped off the ball. That's a free kick to the Battery.
Really well done in an area that will favor the Charleston Battery, with Jeremy Kelly working off the ball and down underneath. What it does is it's going to force someone like Marco Micheletto or MD Miles to drop in and help, or this 3 is going to have to pinch quicker to get to the ball carrier, because quickly it'll become a 4v3 situation favoring the Charleston Battery. And again, the numerical advantage usually on the side of Dom Casciato's team, but really well done there by the Charleston Battery.
Suber playing forward, layered on by Kelly, flicked back to Smith. Past the midway point in this weather-delayed first half. The weather really ended around 6 o'clock. It was the standing water that came with it that needed to be rolled off the field. Extensive effort by the grounds crew here. This is traditionally one of the best kept fields in the championship. Barry, good work. Foster, overtaken physically so, pounds away from Perez. Play on advantage. Myers knocks it wide. Couple options, percolating contact at the edge of the penalty area. The yellow went to Ikaza back behind the play. I think that's the advantage that they had played coming to fruition.
Spot on. Coming right up through the engine room against the Charleston battery. Credit to Luis Perez. He knows the contact is coming. Smart by Myers to play down into the corner, but notice who's on the back end of that with his wide open as that sequence becomes. That was Chris Allen trekking all the way down to the byline to eliminate the through ball.
The referee out here fixing divots. It will be a corner. Service whipped across, dealt with by Charleston on the first effort. And an awkward kick from Kelly. Rather than a corner, it's a free kick from even closer now. Not the first foul suffered tonight by Ostrom.
I don't know what the argument was here from Jeremy Kelly. The studs come high. His argument is the head comes down, but that's up to the shoulder level from Jeremy Kelly on Ostrom.
By any measure, that's unsafe, not knowing what you're turning into. 9 fouls in 25 minutes. And the 1 yellow card to Ikaza to show for it. Options for the Rowdies on a set piece like this?
I alluded to it earlier. Brian Schaefer, for me, number 3 for the Rowdies, is always going to be one that you look to pick out right at the center of the 6. With the numbers that they have, second ball playing up high is something to look at too.
Schneider hammers it directly at Zamudio. Rolled ahead to Malik Foster. Foster saw Kelly making an equivalent run, goes cascading over the at board.
Smart though, better decision coming forward by the battery, and just an understanding that as they go, they need to be quicker on the draw, releasing numbers up high. Only player in the box there was a 3v1 for Jeremy Kelly against the Rowdies. That's an argument that you're not normally going to win, and especially with Foster approaching the end line, really difficult to pick him out.
From that, a corner to Charleston. Service towards Smith. Take that off the bounce. Spinning back toward the end line. How about another corner? Rowdies have not conceded first in any of their 14 games this year. Charleston, a couple set pieces here in quick succession with a chance to open the scoring. They've won just 1 of their 5 games in the league and 3 games in all competitions on the road in 7 tries this year. In swinging, Clarence left some work to be done. Comes to the top of the box, lays through and met by Wade.
That's a tough take. That angle and that pace to be able to get your hips all the way around it and carry momentum off the ball into the bottom corner. Really well done by Joe Apononu. Surprised that for the Rowdies, given how high they'll play Dianakov on this right flank and start to invert him, that we haven't seen him flow a little bit further in or release Luis Perez to assist, give them more control centrally, sort of force the Charleston battery, like the influx of a heartbeat, converge down on the ball and then take advantage of the space that's been vacated on the outside of the field. We have seen that from the Charleston battery, and you can win the one-on-one situations for sure. The problem is as they've gone, they just haven't had enough numbers being willing to throw themselves forward. You take the good with the bad, right? Okay, we're going to chase, we're going to open ourselves up, but there's a balance to be had there as well, making sure that you haven't carved yourself to pieces for the opposition to take advantage of.
Apanonu will throw for Charleston. Speared into the air. Allen swinging around on it. Akoff coming out the other way. Still unimpeded. Still racing after this. Dion Akoff denied. Pops out top of the box. Swerving. Perez! Louis Perez, a scorcher! The Rowdies lead in stunning fashion. Again, they strike first, and Perez an early birthday gift. 30 minutes in, Rowdies 1, Battery 0.
All the credit here to Dion Akoff, and recognizing we just talked about him and what he could do centrally. Nobody expected it. The length of the field or off a set piece. What a craftsman. Ball at his feet, just dragging runners with him, willing his way into the open field. Thought he had one here, trying to pick out the far post. Another great last-minute tackle from Joey Apanonu, but this is what happens as a defender. You make the first tackle, your recovery and emotions start to overtake you as you go to step back in. Louis Perez recognized it, uses the momentum, cuts right back across the body, laces through the ball, perfect technique into the upper corner.
Third goal this season for Louis Perez. Started his youth career at Paris Saint-Germain, ended up in the American Collegiate System, starred in Orlando for UCF. Went from Pittsburgh to Tucson to North Carolina. Each of his last two clubs. Loved his work, but ultimately chose to self-relegate. And now comes into Tampa Bay. Close-ish to an adopted home. Scores a perfect curler. Half an hour in, and it's the same old story for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. The opening goal again tonight. Apanonu, Zamudio, that's smart. Right back up the line. Barry. Ricochet into the width. Douglas Martinez. Forward turn to wing back. Kaza slips it ahead. Jamali Wade.
Head coach Ben Pierman of the Battery said that he felt their ace in the hole would be to tilt the field from a mentality standpoint in favor of the Charleston Battery by not just the pressure, but getting that opening goal. And again, they've averaged 2 goals a game in all competitions over their last 6. But the Tampa Bay Rowdies just always first on the scene. They challenge you in just so many different directions. Near impossible to understand where they all come from.
They're challenging again. It's Myers. Another piercing run out of midfield from Tampa Bay.
The constant pressure centrally, though, has started to elude the Charleston Battery. Joey Apanonu is asking for help there for Nate Messer. The reason why he wants Nathan Messer to come back in is so that Apanonu can close down the passing lane, but also step up to apply pressure. And instead, the heart of the Battery midfield dissected perfectly. Once again, yes, the Rowdies missed the mark, but really smart, very patient on the ball for Tampa Bay.
The Rowdies on the prowl to make it 12 unbeaten in the league to start the year. Apanonu showing a hint of frustration in that back line, gesturing to Emilio Icaza. Win or draw tonight, all comps would be 15 unbeaten to start the year for Tampa Bay, one off the league record. Last set in 2015 by the, I think that, was it 2017 San Antonio? Yeah, 16. 15 was the Raging Rhinos of Rochester.
Yes.
Okay.
Check the database there for a second.
Kaza takes a tumble. And to be fair, Dom Casciato said no one's talking about it. They are not wasting any headspace on a 5-year plan or what a record would mean. It's entirely next game, next training.
I'll buy the narrative of no one on the coaching staff is talking about it. I could guarantee you every player in that dressing room at one point in time has murmured something under their breath, if not louder, about chasing history. I mean, they are on the cusp of a historical mark, just 2 games away, 2 positive results of matching some of the all-time greats within this league. There's no chance they've gone this deep into enemy territory and haven't had a chat.
Rhinos won the double after that 15-game unbeaten run to start a season. Orlando City hit 16 in 2014, won the regular season crown. San Antonio didn't win anything that year, but it was building toward winning the double a couple of years later. See what Kelly or Messer have in mind. It is Kelly. That bounces down. Martinez lays it off. Could that have rung off the post any cleaner than that? Absolutely scorched off the post.
I was shocked Miguel Berry pulled out of the run the first time. He slowed his run, and then as the ball drops, time pauses. And as it stands still, so does he. He's a little bit late on arrival. Notice his posture, leaning back. For a goal scorer of his caliber, that's where you expect him to come up over the top of the ball, hit it dead on, striking right through it, and instead, Woodwork had another idea.
2 goals with Galaxy over the last couple of years, hasn't scored yet in the league this season. The goals are in there, we've seen it before.
And this is where the different ideas for the Charleston battery have to continue to push themselves forward. So, okay, you give up the goal. You've hit the crossbar. You got to keep going. Continue to create a high volume of chances. Gone are the years where MD Myers now on the opposite side of the field. Cal Jennings, Juan David Torres, Nick Marcanic. You know, the list goes on and on of the great strikers, Rubio Rubin, they've been able to put onto that front line. So, yeah, maybe not as many goals as we've seen in years past, but the chances are still there to be taken.
Throw to Martinez. Suber. Offside. Nearly 40 minutes in, we were questioning when this game would be played tonight. Massive rainstorm a couple hours before kickoff. And that is the tarps off captain. The first highlight pack of Jeff Attinella in a USL game since 2017 in progress. Former goalkeeper, current Rowdies television analyst, taking upon himself to squeegee the field out. Salute to you, my man. And this is what it looks like tonight, alongside the palm trees in Tampa Bay in St. Pete. What's turned out to be a gorgeous night, and the fans who stuck it out been treated to a great opening goal in the 30th minute from Perez, and weather that ultimately was actually, for Floridian standards, pretty good. Ball taken away by Messer. Barry returns. Akoff goes in. That is going to be yellow.
It's going to be frustrating for Akoff, given the recovery that he gets so quick on this first step to be able to get back up to speed against Nathan Messer. But watch the angle that Messer takes on the touch. Negative touch to try and get into space. He knows the pressure's right over the shoulder. You get that touch, you're into the 18. You've got a clear path to be able to challenge the Rowdies defensive unit. And not to say this isn't going to be a good look from a set piece opportunity, but Messer certainly was in.
A question to you as a former defender is, you grew up playing in Florida.
So going to ground there every single time.
Even with the water in that area,
if anything, the water's only going to help me as a defender, because as I leave my feet, because of the precipitation on the grass, it's actually going to assist. It'll accelerate my slide. The problem there for Dianakov is it's the actual contact on the body. He's so close in proximity because he gets to top end speed. I probably would have taken one less step and left a half second sooner, because then the player has the ball closer, referencing Nathan Messer, and I can hit him head on and connect with the ball instead of his body.
Part two question on this is Messer is back up. He's allowed to stay in the game because of the yellow card given to a cough there. In generality, you talked about how different the ball's going to play on the field. As a defender, how much do you actually change your game knowing that there are certain spots that your slides might be a little more aggressive in nature because you'll hydroplane a little bit? How much does even the divots like this affect how you go about your game in totality?
Traction, number one, you need to know where the soft spots are. Number two, decision making off the ball. So to my point, when you can leave your feet to let Mother Nature assist you in some of the tackles. Number three, I was always releasing the ball a lot quicker because I could find teams on the counter. Again, find space quickly, let my team take off, but also not knowing what the ball might do at my feet because of the water. If I release it, make faster decisions, that takes the pressure off me and off my squad.
Messer's got great left-footed service, but it's going to be Barry bouncing that right in front of Jamali Waite, seeing if he got any kind of weird carom out of it. Past 40 minutes tonight. The Rowdies have already advanced in Prinks Tire's USL Cup. That was league-wide last weekend. Every match played last weekend, part of the Interleague Cup competition. Charleston would be through with a win against Charlotte, which would be a bit of payback after an Open Cup set earlier this year, but knocked off the defending USL Championship winners Pittsburgh in penalties in that competition over the weekend. We'll go through the whole breadth of the Prinks Tires Cup at halftime. Play picks up for most teams in that competition again July 11th. Handful of teams will be back in action in a couple weeks. The USL Cup. This a regular season game. So the matchups you saw last weekend did not affect the standings. Rowdies still unbeaten though through 11. Charleston through 10 games, a win tonight put them above that very busy 4-point separated pack between 2nd and 8th in the Eastern Conference. Cough. Already set up Perez for the opening goal. He left Smith in the dust. Koff tried to sneak that to the near post, and Zamudio was wise.
That's a really nice turn, though. Center back, one of the scariest things. You slow down, your hips get square, your feet get set, and see you later. Koff saw it coming. You know, Graham Smith out of his comfort zone and really smart the way that he got the center back to bite on it, then explodes to the end line.
Here comes Malik Foster around the edge. Kept that in at the end line. Some numbers come to join. Whipped across. Messer come too far central. Rowdies' 10th year in the championship, 33rd year of existence, 17th in the modern era. A couple of years ago, they were among the most feared teams in the league under Neil Collins, now the Sacramento head coach. Head of that front office, Lee Cohen, departing to go to Charleston. Last couple of years, they've been difficult, make no mistake. inched into the playoffs in 24. Failed to make the playoffs last year. Barry stripped it free. That's a foul from Allen. It probably isn't long for this game. His first start in the better part of a year. I have to think halftime is going to be a decision time as it pertains to his future involvement tonight. All the while, Perez, the goal scorer, at half an hour.
That's the conversation with head coach Ben Pearman, by the way. Well, we're getting Chris Allen back, and you know he hasn't started in nearly a year.
Yeah.
So he's probably got about 25, 30 minutes, but he's got such a good engine, we could get him to halftime.
Yeah, we'll start him. What a run this is. The cutback from Cruz. Ladles that out of the reach of Micheletto.
Speaking engines, this kid's unreal right now.
Cruz.
Sebastian Cruz for the Tampa Bay Rowdies just continues to make defenders look like cones. It's fun to watch him play, man. When you have a player who's running around with confidence, it's a scary thing. And for a guy that can play marking back, push him up higher into a three-back system in the wing-back spots, centrally feels extremely comfortable. Playing deep lying in the 6, but in that 8-10 pivot, rushing him through, making players commit and finding the trailing run. That's where he's at his best. Top form right now for Cruz from the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
2 added minutes here at the end of the half. Really fun talking to him this week. The show that aired on SiriusXM FC yesterday and available on the USL YouTube page now. Grew up in a soccer-loving family, all playing different positions. His uncles and his dad, and going to games growing up. You have to think that plays a role in the versatility that he shows. It was his club coach in Fresno that ultimately became a scout for Kansas City. Brought him on for a trial. There come the Rowdies. Myers. That got blocked. The doctor is out. Over from Perez, furthered by the aforementioned Cruz. Taxi. I will say this about Cruz, there's such a humility when you talk to him. I'm not entirely sure he knows how well he's playing right now. He played it off really well.
No, he was very accepting of the compliments, as have every single player wearing a Tampa Bay Rowdies uniform have been this season. That's why they're 14 games unbeaten. They're very humble about their environment. They have really good depth. They've been balanced over the course of this first half. They've struggled a little bit within the midfield, but they're taking grasp of it right now, and that's where I want the Charleston battery to focus at the start of the second half. As aggressive as you started to become within this game, there needs to be better balance between Chris Allen and Emilio Icaza, or whomever takes Chris Allen's spot. The more adventurous you come, the better the conversation has to be between those two holding mids.
Luis Perez, after a domineering run from Dion Akoff, scores in the 30th minute, and a familiar feeling for the Rowdies. A 1-0 lead at the intermission for Dom Casciano and Tampa Bay on home ground. No shoes, no problem. A very wet, moist day in St. Pete, but the field became playable enough, and the Rowdies, they're after it. The USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. Halftime is next. The USL on CBS Sports is presented by Best Western. The fans stayed around, and the club took care of them. They made those bottles each $2 a piece. What was inside before, no one knows. What's in them now, not much, but at least they stack well. Rowdies won, Charleston nothing at halftime. Coming to the booth, everybody, where we had none of that fun. That's Devin Kerr, Mike Watts. Brinks Tires USL Cup is through match day 3 for most teams, and already we've got a couple of teams that know they'll be in the quarterfinal bracket. You've got this Tampa Bay Rowdies team that wins Group 7 in Florida. You got Colorado Springs, but it feels like more than half the teams are still available. We've barely decided anything.
Credit to the committee, because the expansion of the tournament last year, which saw both levels of the pyramid in USL come into play with each other, was about action, was about opportunity. So as we start to approach what is D-Day of sorts, there's still basically 12 teams that are vying for a wild card position, which means the groups are an absolute mess. That's what we're here for. The good news is there are some definitive games upcoming that are basically winning in. 5 teams that control their own destiny right now, including the Charleston Battery and the Charlotte Independence. SAC winning you're in. San Antonio should be able to handle their business against the Chattanooga Red Wolves. And Hartford Athletic, last year's champion, has a direct path once again into the knockout round stages.
Yeah, that's in Group 5, which feels wide open. 3 teams could still easily win that, but it's Group 4 right now where there's more points available. It's why Detroit and Louisville carry so much weight. It's been elevated to ESPN2 on June 20th.
It's going to be a month from now, so both the teams will add 3 more league games during that span. What world are we living in that Louisville has 1 win in 7 games all competitions? They haven't won a league game in almost 2 months. Their last win in league play was on April 18th. But this isn't the league. This is a knockout game. This is basically going to be, in their 3rd match, win to stay in with this tournament. Detroit City know all about it, and when they play at home or on the road, they have a much better identity on both sides of the ball. Head coach Danny Dicchio has created depth for that team. What I'd like to see is a coming out party. 16 games, 14 decided by 1 goal or less.
Bro, you fumbled the bag. What are you doing? It's halftime. USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. That is the best seat in the house. That's directly across the street from Al Lang Stadium. And so how about you just take in the sights from just outside your room? Not so bad. Rowdies won Charleston nothing at halftime. Take a look at first half highlights, of which thankfully there are many, because this is what happened a couple hours before the game. Everyone but Devin out there rolling out, although Devin's not wearing shoes either. Let's get back to the 30th minute.
Here I thought the best seat in the house was sitting next to you watching Mother Nature do her thing, and then Dianikov saying, hold my $2 Mick Ultra for what the Tampa Bay Rowdies provided tonight. Unreal run, 80 yards one end of the field to the other, and Luis Perez. Joey Appanotto did an incredible job of getting back to help out, but as he starts to leave his feet for the second time, Luis Perez on the cutback into the upper corner sends the Rowdies into the lead. 15 matches in all competitions. They've scored first in every single game. Good response for the Charleston Battery. Set piece opportunity. Barry pulls out of this header, had a great chance to attack through, and instead sits back. Douglas Martinez, as he lays this off, Barry's got to attack that. He's got to drive right through the ball, stay up over top of it. Instead, lacks a bit of form, a little bit of quality, and certainly the equalizer.
May we offer you these first half match stats. Rowdies have 55% of the ball and a short majority of shots. The 1-0 lead on the Perez goal in the 30th minute of play. We've only just begun here tonight in St. Pete. It is Rowdies ahead on this wet, wicked evening. Second half is next on CBS Sports Network. The travel map is brought to you by Best Western. Here's Dejanikoff.
This is what happens to you during a weather delay. That's what happens to Dejanikoff when you give him time and space. I love the way that the Rowdies tilted the field. Great relationship between he and Lawrence White. That center back pairing on the right with the outside back and a cough. 13 passes in the final third led the team. Dejanikoff led the team with 3 touches inside the box. And guess what? Helped create the opening goal for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. 1-0 after the opening 45 minutes of play.
Each team has made a change at halftime. There's a cough who, those weren't water spots on that travel map. He has really, truly been everywhere. And the goal that he helped set up, the difference, of course, in the 30th minute. You know, I was talking a bit with Dom Casciato, and I said, you know, you look at the Rowdies of the past, Joe Cole, Marcel Schaefer, Georgi Hristov. You go, these are big names within the league. These are big money guys. This team, it doesn't seem to be made up of guys like that. Dom said, well, hey, Russell Cicerone might take some offense to that. I mean, you know, he scored 15 goals 3 separate seasons in the league. He's plenty star. MD Myers as well. Say, probably tell Russell about it. We'll see if he comes out with a little bit of fire. But it's a team made up of all kinds of walks of life. Guys who've been through the collegiate system, guys a little longer in the tooth, League One, MLS Next Pro, USL Championship. That's only 2 returning pros from last year's team. Cicerone comes on at halftime, replaces Marco Micheletto, the acquisition from Colorado Springs. Pahomov comes on for Chris Allen as anticipated at halftime. We're on to the second half tonight in St. Pete, not a minute too soon. Game was delayed 100 minutes at the outset as they got the field prepared following a torrential rainstorm and an early set piece in this second half for Charleston. Does either team see a substantive difference in how they're going to play based on the subs they just made?
Right now, the idea is about a better pairing in the midfield for the Charleston Battery. That got away from them towards the tail end of the first half. So Pahomov, his vision, the quality with the ball at his feet, coverage in front of that back three has to be more constant next to Emilio Icaza. And to be fair, the one area that the Rowdies struggled in the first half was the relationship between those 2 nines. Cicerone bridges that gap.
Driven ball, header snapped away by Perez, recovered by Jeremy Kelly. So find Messer. Jamali Waite parachuting in off the goal line. Messer. That did not get touched en route. It sure looked like it hit something.
Certainly a much better start compared to the finish of the first half for the Charleston Battery. And talked about the midfield pairing of Pahomov and Emilio Icaza. I want to see the areas tighter for the Charleston Battery. No matter what their tactical setup is, they've become so efficient at narrowing the gaps in between all of their units. And in the first half, the more they came out of their shell, the more the organization slipped and made it easier for the Battery to slide through the cracks.
Koff, Messer making it difficult. Battery have not amassed back-to-back wins in the league since March, their first 2 games of the year. With a 2-0 win against Detroit. Pahomov came on at halftime. Colton Swan, who was away with the American under-20s. Wilmer Cabrera Jr., Alec Hughes. Perhaps Langston Blackstock, who came off injured in their last cup game, but is available for selection. Provide issues. For the Rowdies, the likes of Evan Conway. Tejas Oliveira could come in and make a difference off the bench should they need a goal. A guy like Giannis Learman come in and try and stave off any Charleston comeback attempt. Kept in by Cruz. Schneider. Positive step off the back line. Foul suffered by the hand of Schneider.
You were talking about the roster build for this Tampa Bay Rowdies group. You know, finding familiarity. If you're head coach Dom Casciato that sees 21 new faces out of the 24 on the senior roster, certainly very important. You want to vet the player off the field as much as on the field. So finding familiarity within personalities, extremely important. And then you look at guys that have had experience together, whether stylistically within the same group or even former systems. Max Schneider, Nate Dos Santos, both Marshall guys. That's an easy link up to be able to put together.
What a run forward. It's a letdown in the end for Barry. Said surely that hit off something. Elvis Osmanovic looking to check with the AR.
I don't know what the argument was on the back end outside of the deflection. It looked like he just mishit it.
By the way, Wyke is the only player in the starting 11 for the Rowdies tonight who finished the season with the club last year. Lewis Hilton, unavailable for selection, has played 169 games, second most in club history. He's missed the last couple. Also of note, Leland Archer has returned to training, a longtime Charleston captain. Unable to go tonight for the Rowdies. Told that Ian Cameron just received a yellow card. The former South Georgia Tormenta head coach has joined the staff at Charleston. So an assistant coach for the Battery has been booked. I imagine that's something to do with Barry's earlier argument.
Nice turn by Jeremy Kelly.
Kelly swerving out of the reach of Barry.
This is where they've struggled, though, is they've got a bunch of players, and head coach Ben Pierman admitted it. A bunch of guys that are setup players. They have the ability to take players on in one-on-one situations, get in behind their service, but haven't had enough quality and work rate off the ball. That's where you can expect to see Colton Swan come into play and be more effective at the 9. Did play for the U20s against Japan yesterday, understanding that they were just a bit up north, just outside of Atlanta. You knew U.S. men's national team training facility, the youth national team up there, and got some solid minutes in. Changes the whole dynamic for this Battery squad.
7 goals, all comps, leads the team. You and I were chatting with Colton Swan for the SiriusXM radio show last Tuesday. You're saying, so how are the digs in Atlanta? Not bad, right? Yellow card comes out for that tackle. It appears. Looks like Barry and Schneider are going to walk away from this, and the referee has too.
This is two-pronged. Barry in behind, and then Kelly right through. Ooh, that's intent more than anything. It's still an infraction that can get you into trouble. Jeremy Kelly got himself in to the frontal lobe of our referee in the first half a few times. Great shielding by Max Schneider from the Rowdies to keep him off the ball.
So Kelly avoids any further repercussion. Cruz Short arm that a bit, turned into a hospital pass. Ikaza on a yellow card went in. I imagine Elvis Osmanovic could be singing a different tune if he weren't the only player on a yellow.
He's very fortunate as well. Can tell you that this could easily have been a yellow by another referee in another game, and the fact that it's not the second. Oof.
That could be more than a yellow.
I mean, on the back ankle, very fortunate Emilio Ikaza to still be on the field to play.
As far as Ikaza is concerned, in terms of your depth in that position, in theory, Palmov already came in for Allen in central midfield. So the options have dwindled there a bit. He's gonna have to be smart on that yellow. Here's Martinez. Martinez offers the cross, swept in, the battery have equalized. Malik Foster has flipped the script, and the battery are level in St. Pete.
Exactly what head coach Ben Pierman has been asking for, though. Quality ball movement, not a problem. Progression into the channels, another issue, null and void. Watch the numbers on the left side of your screen that get into the box for the battery. Great explosion by Douglas Martinez down into the corner. Decent service into the box. A fortunate bounce off Lawrence Wyke that has Malik Foster right on the doorstep to tap it in. But options for the battery that create these chances at the start of the second half.
A 7.3 on the landing for Foster, but a 9.9 for the wherewithal to stick with that. Equalize the match at 1 apiece. Second meeting between these teams, it took 2 minutes to equalize in the first on April 18th. And then up finishing as a 1-1 draw. Takes about 25 minutes of game time tonight. Time will tell if that's all we've got in store. For the Rowdies, when you face a team like Charleston with a 9-point lead in the East, as the Rowdies trying to get in behind. Now foul trying to win it back from Tampa. But a draw is as good as a win as far as the standings are concerned. Everyone wants to win every game they're in, but holding Charleston off just as valuable. Here's Smith and Myers.
I would agree with that, but I would also add that you have to be careful that mentally you don't maintain that.
Yeah.
You want to continue to push here, and the one thing that you can be critical of for the Tampa Bay Rowdies is they've lacked full control over a 90-minute game. Now, in their last 2 fixtures against Louisville and Sporting Jacksonville, we've seen much more complete matches where they were the aggressor, they got the lead, and were able to change the game tactically where they created more control, but still not over a full 90 minutes. Now, Casciato admitted that. He said, we need to maintain the identity that we are the best team on the field of play. We're going to play it on our terms, and we have to make sure that whether we concede or not, that we're constantly in it. We've waxed and waned too many times throughout our performances.
To wait. Patient from Tampa Bay here. Double sub incoming for the Rowdies in a moment. Barry pushes that in behind. Sprinting defensive run all the way back to Waite, who squares wide of Messer and on to Lawrence Wyke. Seeing Martinez assisted that Charleston goal. Well, both these teams have the good kind of center back problem. Arguably one too many good ones.
Yeah.
Hannes Learman waiting to enter here for Tampa Bay. We still have Leland Archer set to return sooner than later for Tampa Bay, who could play as a 6, can play as a center back, and has done so quite well over the years. You look at Charleston, and they've gone to 3 in the back because of that center back problem, as well as other personnel depth issues that they've suffered through. Here come the changes. So it'll be Learman on for Wyke in the back, and then Oliveira comes on for Luis Perez, who finishes his 29th trip around the sun with a proper goal in the 30th minute.
Unleashed too, laces through it, out always, right into the upper corner, and knew exactly what he was doing. Shift in the back line, pulls one way, gets the goalkeeper to move his feet, and then counteracts it with an absolute fury of a right-footed strike.
Subs 2 and 3, first moment utilized by Dominic Casciato and Tampa Bay.
It gives you fresh legs in the midfield in front of Schneider and next to Cruz. A little bit more attack-minded for Oliveira, especially as that front 2 grab continue to try and push the tempo up high. He can give you a little bit more reach. What I'm interested in is coming off the back line. Lawrence Wyke had been very active with Dianakov. They'd lost a bit of that at the start of the second half. Not as efficient as the other 2 center backs, Lawrence Wyke, but because Akov was aggressive and up high, it forced him to take more chances. Losing that identity, they needed to restore balance, hence the change for Learman.
Here's Kelly. Day prior to the commencement of the FIFA World Cup in the U.S., Tampa Bay and Charleston matching up this USL Championship regular season fixture. The league sending players to the World Cup through Haiti and Curacao, including a couple who call Miami FC home in the championship. Going in with Curacao. A number of players who've featured over the years in the championship called up. Likes Miles Robinson, who got a cup of coffee with Charleston back in the day. Part of the U.S. squad, good example. Tyler Adams, who came up through Red Bull 2. They're still in the championship, good example.
Gonna have to figure out a way to pull multiple hall passes out of the next, what is it, 5 weeks. Only so many times I can use the excuse of an afternoon nap to get to a World Cup match. And then the 9 o'clock fixtures that are, we'll say it, I'll date myself here, past my bedtime.
True enough. Just start with the Paraguay game and go from there. Foster equalized in the 55th, comes off just after an hour.
A great job by Malik Foster. Again, he'd been very active high and wide, but what we had really yet to see was the relationship develop in this match between he and Douglas Martinez. By the time they released him, Foster already off and running. Thorne against Lawrence Wyke, equalizer for the Charleston Battery, and now what should also be a tactical change is my guess here, with Colton Swan coming in. You can work side by side with Miguel Berry, but you also have the ability here to release one player each up onto another level. Suber into the midfield, keep Messer and Martinez more as marking backs, and start to give yourself more control centrally, and more importantly, great combination play for Colton Swan. He's excellent at occupying a back line.
And it's Swan being targeted here. Waite pulls back on it. Swan, 4 goals in 9 games in the league. Left Indiana after just 1 season. Bagged a couple goals against Florida Badgers in the Open Cup, an amateur team, and never looked back. Hey, let's take a look at the Best Western upcoming schedule for Madison and Fort Wayne on ESPN2 on June 17th. They've got a twin bill, Detroit and Louisville, in a Brinks Tires USL Cup showdown in Group 4, June 20th, 5 Eastern on ESPN2, followed by Vegas and Orange County here on CBS Sports Network. Go to USLChampionship.com or USLLeague1.com for the complete TV listings. I assume you're calling that Detroit-Louisville game. That's going to be an extraordinary atmosphere. Here's Cicerone working on Appanonu. Easier said than done, of course. Able to swing the door open. Cicerone winds that back to a cough. Maybe a little room here for Schneider. On to Cruz. That'll be a corner. Claps from Oliveira. Oliveira's dad, Beto, played for Brazil, scored 2 days after Mateus was born, the 1994 World Cup in the quarterfinals. Celebrated his son's birth with a goal at the World Cup.
Why don't you go back around and tell me who he scored against in the round of 16?
True enough. Ball whipped through, at ricochets around, pinballs out for another corner. Go ahead, Dev.
That was his famed celebration throughout the entire tournament, Bebeto. He took down the United States men's national team. 1-0, ball slipped through by Romario. Bebeto, only goal of the match, and saw the Stars and Stripes depart the '94 World Cup. Also propelled not only into the quarterfinals, the semis, and then eventually Brazil would add their 3rd star above the crest.
Is that foreshadowing?
Well, I've already got 4, so. 5's company, so they say.
Corner for Tampa Bay, and Martinez sure is no foreshadowing on that particular corner. Foul suffered by Barry. And the referee gesturing to his head, suggesting Barry saw contact worthy of being checked by the athletic trainer.
That's the second time we've seen Barry come in from behind, although he picked up a little reach around. Schneider was the recipient the first go around.
Schneider argues his case. Devin, will we have a moment? And a yellow card going to be shown here. That is a member of the technical staff for Tampa Bay who just got booked. I believe that's John Pascarella. Now I'm finding out I've thrown the book down on the wrong assistant. Andrew Fox is the one who picks up that yellow card. Tarps are off, Devin.
I don't think that's in the CBS contract, kids. Apologies.
You know, after Jeff Attinella did it from the booth directly overhead, I think this has just sort of become a thing.
Sure.
And neither you nor I have committed to this because we have ambitions that extend beyond tonight.
I appreciate you using the plural form of that word.
It's a kick in the grass tonight. If there's a place in all the land that was meant to have a tarps off experience, St. Pete is it. Martinez. Casa. Familiar path was blockaded. Suber. Smith. Apanonu. Pahomov. Kelly. Turned away by Learman. Outside of Tampa Bay, 9 points clear, and Jacksonville only 3 points to their name.
That's a good ball.
Offering.
I like the idea here. Before that step by Sean Suber, they haven't made the change to 4 just yet. And one of the reasons is to draw that first line of confrontation coming off the back line for the Charleston Battery. You either A, get a player to commit, or B, quickly step in behind. You'll have space to be able to work through, and most importantly, direct service into Barry and Swan up top. Good look by Suber.
Martinez in reverse. Charleston offering a bit more control and possession in the moment, although they've backed all the way up into their own defensive third. Outside of the Rowdies on top, Jacksonville at the bottom. Really tight Eastern Conference. These are 3 big points. Tampa Bay can pull away. Charleston can move to the top of that next rung into second place with a win tonight. A cough. Whips that through. Header down. Shuffled away after Apanonu was the first line of defense.
Akoff's done something after the fact, too. He's very slow after he whipped that ball into the 18.
If I read his lips right, I think he just said it's just a cramp. Meanwhile, here's Schneider catching all of Jeremy Kelly's leg.
He's been all over the field tonight. Matt Schneider. And to be fair, Joe is Jeremy Kelly, but Matt Schneider, who primarily is given that responsibility in the deep lying 6 role to draw some pressure out, allow this back 3 to go to work, and guys like Cruz, Perez, and Oliveira to float in front of him. He's played much higher up tonight, more aggressive on the defensive front, created some solid turnovers with it.
Fans have moved to the all-encompassing USH here, I believe. 2 days away from the U.S. kicking off their World Cup journey. There were 9 shots in the first half and 4 on target between the 2 teams. Only 1 shot on target since.
The dynamic between the midfield 3 of the Rowdies not as clear over the last 15 minutes. Mateus coming in, even with the wandering eye of Max Schneider. Cruz has started to fade away from ball retention as the game has become more open. It's more of tracking of time and space and less about quality on the ball for the Rowdies midfield 3. Do you chase that narrative, or do you try and draw it back in if you're Dom Cacciato? I don't mind bypassing it, but if you're going to fully remove those 3, use them as decoys, play around them. You've got speed on the outside with Akoff and Ostrom. And certainly with Cicerone, who we have barely seen in the second half. There he is.
It's another foul, the 16th. By the Rowdies tonight, already ahead of their season average. Cicerone's been booked. The halftime substitute.
He's doing a lot of chasing. Russell Cicerone of the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Battery quicker in decision making, moving back to front, and Cicerone and Myers
haven't been able to develop a relationship within this game, mostly just chasing. By the way, to cap off that World Cup conversation earlier, in the most celebrated team within the history of the World Cup, Brazil, with 5 titles. They've never gone further than 5 tournaments without achieving another title. It's the longest streak right now, so history tells you they're going to win it, obviously.
But Devin says,
methinks not.
Yeah.
There you go. See, he gets it. He knows.
But like the World Cup, leaving early.
Yeah. No quarter for that man.
Solid color schematic as well, I suppose. If you're going to wear a kit to a Rowdies game, that's it. Here comes the change for Tampa Bay. They're 4th. 1 remaining. It's it for MD Myers. Walks away without a goal against his former team in the 2 meetings in the regular year. Penn Pierman laughed. He goes, look, he deserves everything he got. It takes 1 team to come in and set the market, and he's earned it. But I hope he plays a terrible game tomorrow, and then all the success in the world after that. Wouldn't go as far as to say he played terribly, but he doesn't inflict a goal on Charleston, at least not tonight. By the way, we mentioned the foul count a couple minutes ago. Max Schneider has both suffered 5 and given 5 fouls tonight. Meanwhile, up in the stands, things have gotten imminently more lit. Jamali Waite. I guess the question is, where are these kids' parents?
It's a school night. Oh, school's out.
School's out.
Yeah. Summer camp, obviously.
Kelly. Run forward. Waite left a lot to do there, but no one there to take advantage. Messer having a go.
Defensively, Rowdy's not good enough. That first line of pressure. Mateus releasing with Conway and Cicerone. They're slow to get into any of the ball carriers. Really good job by the battery. Work off the back 3, quickly through the midfield onto that front line, and then just a quick transition to be able to target the space.
Staggering run through. Cruz returns. Dished off by Oliveira. Inside a quarter hour, this is where all the damage got done when these teams met in April. Goals in the 80th from Cruz, 82nd from Martinez. Goals tonight, Perez in the 30th, Foster in the 55th. Bononu switches the point.
Mateus has basically become a mirror image for Pahomov in that 6th spot for the Charleston Battery. If I'm one of his counterparts, I am dragging the rest of the midfield too with me. Moments like that, that's a really good identifier by Jeremy Kelly. Slice on the diagonal and work through it.
Over to Martinez. Worth noting, largely the trailing water is dissipated. Gonna dip that in behind. Just got by Akaza, but not by Barry. Miguel Barry. Back inside. Barry alone deflection! Charleston had the lead over the Rowdies with under 15 minutes to go.
Once again, far too slow in rotation defensively for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, allowing Apononu, Smith, and Suber on the back line to control the evening's proceedings. This time, direct up over the top. You don't win the first one, but the ability to compress the space by the Battery. Great job by Miguel Barry. Should have played the ball to the near touchline. Fortunate on the bounce, and now really slow reaction. Tired legs from Dos Santos and Brian Schaefer. Can't collapse on the pocket. Lets one fly. Yeah. Just a little bit of lady luck never hurt. But it's off the shoulder. He's in an onside position. This would stay no matter what.
You mentioned it's off his shoulder. The nuance to that is onside or not, intended or not, if that hits off his hand, you cannot score directly off a handled ball. So that's the nuance to that. If it hits off the sleeve, fine, but if that hits off any part of that hand, whether it's close to the body or not, it's irrelevant. That's why mentioning that it hits up off the shoulder is significant. Wow. A cough comes off. He assisted the opening goal for the Rowdies. They haven't scored the opener and lost since August last year. Dolabella comes on in his stead. The Battery can move into second place and end the Rowdies' 11-game unbeaten run in the league, 14 in all comps. Colton Swan is going to get credit for the goal. Didn't know a ton about it. Knew enough about it. That's 8 all comps, 5 in the league.
He'll take it any way he can get it.
Ain't that the truth? And then Miguel Barry came off for Wilmer Cabrera at that stop as well. Cicerone.
Time to regain control here if you're the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Forget the scoreline for a second. The identity of this group. Good work rate off the ball. Clean decision making on it. They've gotten away from that. Think about how much the game has changed centrally. Haven't seen enough of Sebastian Cruz. Mateus is really tweaked. Look at the group going forward. Fragmented the team defensively.
Header steered away to Kelly. Throw to Tampa. 5th goal by a substitute for the Battery this year, most in the league. 5th for Colton Swan in the league, the rookie out of Indiana. And the Battery have the lead in St. Pete. Drops down, Oliveira lays off. That ricochets out over the line for a corner. Mostrom. Oliveira offers, header down toward the net, held by Zamudio. Nearly tic-tac-toe.
It felt like Dolabella had a clear path there and almost tentative the way that he attacks the ball and doesn't firmly drive through it.
Oh, give and go. Conway. Santos steps forward, commits the foul. Let's go back to the goal again.
Yeah, that is really difficult to tell. Thought it was the shoulder in the moment.
Because it deflects off a Rowdy player up into Swan. And again, all the rules about handballs are relevant if you're going to call a penalty. It's a little bit different when you talk about deflecting directly off a hand into the goal. Not that Swan cares. It glanced his wing or not, irrelevant.
Here's the thing I would add too. You and I looked at it behind the scenes a couple of times. We just watched it twice there. I can't tell you.
And we have a much better view for one because we
100%.
see from 4 places, not the least of which from the end line where no official has a view.
Yeah.
Which arguably is our best look. And you've got an AR on the sideline 40 yards away, and you've got a central referee 15 yards behind the plate, 25 yards from the deflection.
A great little touch back to the inside by McGillberry. Rips it in. Look, we know that it hits Brian Schaefer. After the fact,
To me, that's the forearm.
you can't definitively say it though. Because I'm watching, like that right there, that's the first time. Oh.
And like the description we hear from officials so often, and Swan's got long sleeves too. There's a lot of guys who wear them a little bit shorter than that. Is if it's off the sleeve, typically that's hand. If it's above the sleeve, it's shoulder. It's really, really tough. And I don't expect a referee to see that in real time and know the answer either.
No. And within it, still minutes to be played here for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, who have struggled here in the second half. Charleston Battery overall have been the better team. Created higher quality chances. But that unbeaten streak is still well within reach.
Cruz looping header wide.
They've gotten away from utilizing the midfield to either play through or around. And so when you bypass a unit, you have to be very clear that you're going to go from A to Z. And instead, they've been slower overall to hit the release button. They have not gotten Russell Cicerone and Evan Conway in open field transitional moments. Credit to the back line of the Battery for that. But all the more reason why your activity level on the inside needs to be much more demanding.
Chipping from a third of the field. It might be a wasted moment with only 80 seconds remaining. And Wilmer Cabrera Jr. peels himself back up. 99th career regular season appearance. The majority have been under the tutelage of his father, Wilmer Cabrera at RGV at El Paso. He's had some really bright moments, Wilmer Jr., who when he plays for his dad goes by Andy. Little room here to swing this across. Header toward the near post, met by Zamudio. And the Rowdies are pushing.
Much better overall from the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Cleaner from side to side. Got more vertical in their actions, and Charlie Ostrom has done a really good job as Dianakov has stepped to the sideline, playing a much more pivotal role on this left flank for the Rowdies. That continue to play through him, especially with the tired legs of Martinez being there.
Time is fleeting for the Rowdies' unbeaten streak. Fourth longest in all competitions in league history. 6 added minutes, plenty of time. Cruz. Dos Santos. Stonewalled by Swan. Schneider forward, that deflected. And the Battery counter. Pahomov. Ball across, and the shot is on and in! Oh, it's all there! On the eve of the World Cup! His father, the hero, back in '94. Mateus, the hero on this night. An equalizer in stoppage time.
To be clear about what you're trying to accomplish, that's what head coach Dom Cacciato says to his group, and they haven't been over the last half hour. When they've gone direct, they haven't been definitive. They haven't had numbers up high, but just talked about that young man, Charlie Ostrom. What a touch. Center back Schaefer finds his wing back in transition. The cutback into negative space puts it on an absolute platter for the Brazilian. Then it's just semantics. Head down, open your foot, drive right through it, through the hearts of the Battery, and at least for the moment, have salvaged a point.
And a foul won by Charleston off the kickoff, suffered by Cabrera. It took a while, a 100-minute layoff before the game, but we did ultimately get what we had hoped for. The Rowdies capitalize on 70% of the ball over a 15-minute span. That included the Battery's go-ahead. Oliveira in the 90-plus first. Polling level. Still 4 minutes or so to go. Messer, that header will wane out for a corner. This also is the no-quarter derby deciding match. I don't know what they do if it's 2 draws. I imagine the booty stays with the Pirates that had already earned it. Four straight years for the Battery, winning the season series. Corner in for the Battery now. Awkward punch away. Tampa Bay clears, but not entirely done. But that is. Learman. 100 seconds to find a hero tonight. Battery had a chance to make up really valuable ground in the Shield race. Still 20 games to go coming into the night. Nearly through for Swan. Cabrera slides. Comes to Schneider. Wills the kit man a tip. Slaloming through Cicerone. Hoofed past halfway.
Got to keep working if you're off the ball here for the Battery. They've gone very dormant in the last 5 minutes.
Dos Santos foul, center circle, picks up a yellow. Worth it. His 3rd in 12 games. The goal did come in stoppage. There could be another minute or so. Dos Santos breaking up any semblance of promising attack. Cabrera. And a late injection of speed and offense. The likes of Alec Hughes places Kelly. Last sub for Charleston. And that's it. It's full time. It's a 2-2 thriller by the Bay in St. Petersburg. Rowdies 2, Battery 2, and Tampa Bay extends their unbeaten run to 15 games in all competitions, 12 games to start the league season. Perez, the goal at the half-hour mark. Swan, the deflection after the Foster equalizer to pull the Battery ahead. But Mateus Oliveira, as if it's in his genes, scores the dramatic goal late on to salvage a point for the Rowdies and keep the streak alive at least another night. Well, it started with the rain, and then the goals came. Tampa Bay, 12 unbeaten to start the league season, 10 points clear of the East. Next, USL on CBS, presented by Best Western. CBS SN Saturday, 10:30 Eastern, Las Vegas and Orange County. For Devin Kerr, our entire rain-soaked crew in St. Pete, beyond Mike Watts saying this has been a presentation. CBS Sports Network, 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Good night.